Namaste. Guruji says, when we the real meaning of victory is realized. On this auspicious day of Vijayadashami, Darpan Foundation invites you to Upanishad with Guruji Shri Nandkishore Tiwari, propounder, Sahaj Smriti Yog, and Dr. Melissa Kapoor, CEO and scientist. Guruji Shri Nandkishore Tiwari propounded Sahaj Smriti Yog system of self-realization along with Sahaj Smriti Kriya, an absolutely effortless method to explore unexplored dimensions of one's existence, a path easy to follow along with the busy family life. Guruji established the Universal Forum for Human Dignity in the year 2002 and founded Darpan Sahaj Smriti Yoga Ashram at Urigam in 2018. Under Guruji's guidance, Darpan Foundation is working in areas of sustainable living, education, conservation of nature, health, sanitation, and enabling senior citizens to meaningfully contribute to society. Through the various social transformation projects, we have touched 5,350 plus students, 26 schools, and 42 villages. Our host, Dr. Melissa Kapoor, is a PhD in statistics applied to medical imaging from the University of Oxford. She has an award-winning company that develops novel technologies that help reduce the incidence of dementia. Since she first stepped on Indian soil, Dr. Melissa has felt a deep connection with India. Married to an Indian and a Hindu, she has been learning about ancient Vedic knowledge. Dr. Melissa takes great and expresses her views on social media as English Behan ke dil se. The word Upanishad is made up of two words, Upa and Nishad, meaning sitting beside. Traditionally, seekers looking for knowledge would sit beside Guru and ask their questions. And that is the very essence of our Upanishads. Maximum seekers, maximum seeking is our motto. The Upanishad conversations bring in remembrance of our glorious tradition and keeps alive the spirit of seeking. It is only when we ask real questions that we will arrive at the truth. So let us strengthen this tradition of questioning. Audience, do make the most of this opportunity and have your questions addressed by a living Guru. During the session, you may post your questions in the chat box on Zoom or Facebook. Guruji will address as many questions as time permits. We are sharing the links to our Facebook and YouTube page. Do visit our page, have a look at our initiatives, our events, and if you like what you see, subscribe. The recording of this Upanishad too will be shared there. The topic for today's Upanishad is Real Victory and Vijayadashami. Vijayadashami reminds us year after year to be steadfast on the path of dharma, truth, and righteousness. It tells us that victory over one's ego is one of the greatest victories. Without further ado, let us commence today's Upanishad. I request the audience to disable their video and mute the audio so that the bandwidth is maintained for us to listen to this Upanishad without interruptions. Before handing over to our host, Dr. Melissa Kapoor, I request Guruji to say a few words.
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु गुरुरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः अभिजानाति मां मूढा मानुषीतनुमाश्रितम् परं भावम् अजानन्तु So, aham bhutamaheshwaram. हरि ओम। आज के इस उपनिषद में, in today's Upanishad, I welcome Melisha ji and our audience and participants, volunteers, and all those who are connected through different social media platforms. Here I am on the banks of reverently known as Ganga of Bundelkhand, that is Betwa, around the precincts of Ram Raja temple. Here Ram is known as Raja Ram, the King Ram. It is our good fortune that today is the day of Mahagauri, means very fair in both the sense. So Melissa ji represents that in different aspects and meanings of the word for all of us today. And like a honeybee, he will select questions and express what are our queries, which are universal in nature, but somebody needs to be there to express it. And today she is our host. So as the topic is there, very apt to the occasion, Vijayadashami, so we can talk about that. And with these words, I offer it back to Marilyn ji.
Thank you, Guruji. Over to Melissa ji.
Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad, everybody. And thank you very, very much for the invitation from Darpan Foundation to speak today, to host this session with Guruji. It really is an honor, a privilege. And it is quite funny, actually. You mentioned, Guruji, about the honeybee, because my name, Melissa, it actually does mean honeybee. That is the literal translation in Greek. And that is why my Indian name is Madhu. So some of my Indian friends, they call me Madhu. So just to set the context then for the first sort of topic that I will be discussing or presenting to you, Guruji, I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes giving some context, because the question is to do with the relevance of Vijayadashami to women and the role of women in the celebration of Vijayadashami. So obviously, Vijayadashami, on the one hand, it is celebrating Ma Durga's victory over Mahishasura, and it comes at the end of Navratri, 9 nights celebrating the feminine in all its glorious forms. So as you just heard, Ma Mahagauri today in a very fair and very peaceful and calm form, whereas yesterday it was Ma Katyani in a much more fierce and warrioress form. Vijayadashami also is celebrating Arjuna's victory of killing millions of soldiers in Mahabharata to restore dharma. And obviously, Draupadi ji, she plays a really vital role in the Mahabharata in reminding Yudhishthira and the Pandavas of the need to restore Dharma when such terrible things have been inflicted on her. And finally, in the Ramayana, we have Ma Sita playing such a key role, being such a pure wife, remaining such a pure wife, despite all the terrible things that happened to her. She remains a pure wife, holding up a blade of grass as her weapon against Ravan. So we see women being celebrated in so many different ways and having such important roles in so many different ways, but each being strong in a pure way, being strong in a fierce way, and the whole spectrum. And for me, I found that so empowering as a woman, because before, as a Christian, women, the full spectrum of femininity isn't celebrated. There's only a certain type of woman that is presented. And when you then look beyond religion to just how Western society is now, women are taking on this very sort of feminist stance where they are almost rejecting femininity and trying to embrace being more masculine, because that is where the success in life is perceived to be, to be earning lots of money, to be having a big career, successful career, and all these things. And so me, as becoming a Hindu, it's been so empowering, because I now am understanding that the full spectrum of femininity is worth celebrating. And also, it's not that we should shun any of that to become more masculine because it's a bad thing. No, we should embrace it. We should embrace being feminine. So my question to you, Guruji, sorry for the long introduction, but my question to you is, when India, particularly Hinduism, has such a grand tradition of having powerful women and celebrating the full spectrum of femininity, what's your message to Hindu women to remind them not to ape the West? Because that attitude to women is actually, it's not relevant to Hindu women. They already are empowered. So what's your message to women?
Thank you, Melissa ji. And this introduction have given all the references from Ramayana and Mahabharata. It's very good. I was keenly listening to it. Let me say at the outset, I am very small to give message to women. They are so big and they are so empowered that I seek little from them. And that again I distribute. So yes, I can share. I am nobody to give them message, but I respect your idea, because this is Guru Parampara. When we are asking something, we ask message. See, in every form, as you have hinted about it, we see divinity mostly in feminine, because there are layers and layers in yoga sadhana. When we go, first we say as a prakriti and purush, then there is para prakriti. So when, as a, you say, in the form of men and women, we prefer that women are more capable, because they have more capacity to undergo pain, they have more capacity to forgive, they are known for nurturing life. So the one who nurtures life obviously becomes greater. So in that sense, their empowerment, if the weaker is saying no, I will empower the empowered, that means what? So that message is very clear. Now things have gone wrong because feminine in its expression is soft. All the things which is Shaumyata, Daya, Karuna, Sri, all these virtues, here we see them in feminine form. None of them is in masculine, no exception, 100% clarity. So that means if we are non-valuable or valueless, depending on what kind of virtues we are roaming into, what kind of virtues we are upholding, what kind of value that's why I say value, we are adding to life. Because of that only, we are valued. So if women are custodian of that, nurturer of that, upholders of that a priori, so who can empower them? So there is something missing. Those who are going for such movements, their vision is not clear. If their vision becomes clear, they will laugh at themselves that what wrong path they have been following. So the societies in which cruelty is more. See, cruelty outside cruelty is one thing, but inside cruelty is much more dangerous. So if that is their cruelty, there only they talk of empowering them. But it should not be taken at the face value. Definitely, if there were no any kind of discrepancies in India these days, then such talk would not have interested even a single person. Even misguided, but so many people are raising that voice. That means they have gone somewhere wrong in understanding their own traditions. So my simple request to all the concerned, whether they have a female body or male body, is to understand their parampara clearly. What is their tradition? How they look at life? What is the reason when we say Ya Devi Sarvbhuteshu? Why we begin with the Devi? Why we don't say Ya Deva Sarvbhuteshu? We don't say that. We say Ya Devi because we keep that if we are our life is being nurtured, it is because this is coming. We are coming from the mother. So we are very clear about it. So simple suggestion, my humble submission to all of them, those who are going that way, that empowerment of women, they should value them instead of empowering. What they are upholding, they just, if they begin to value that, then they will get empowered. And they, because you value them, you will know what their real powers are. If you suppress, see, horse has all the time this brutal way of thinking, they can suppress. They can stop you from fructifying. But they can, if they become protectors, that we are, you see, the harsh should protect the soft. So if they become that, then the life will flourish, then it will become very festive. So my only request is that they should see, value how the women are upholding that and start valuing that, then the empowerment will happen the way it should happen. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Guruji. So just following on from that quite naturally then, to explore then the role of men in Vijayadashami. So obviously within Ma Durga's defeat of Mahishasura, we see that Mahishasura completely underestimates the power of women when he chooses that boon to not be able to be killed by the devas and by men. He forgets some powerful women. At the same time, you see Ravan, he's constantly wanting to take that which is not his. He takes somebody else's wife, and he's also attacking sadhus and the protectors of traditions and dharma. And then in the Mahabharata with the Kauravas, they're wanting the full kingdom for themselves. They're wanting to own the Pandavas. They're wanting to own Draupadi. So we see in all these different ways, many men trying to conquer and take and steal. And I must mention that there are obviously women mentioned who also create the Mahabharata, the situation of the Mahabharata in Manthara and KK. So it's not just the men, but overall we see more men creating this conflict. And when you look then to other religions where women aren't empowered and where there isn't this concept of dharma and righteousness, you see that there are some real issues within these societies that are lasting, hundreds, thousands of years. Whereas the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, they were very quick to correct the situation that was unfolding, to correct the adharma. And I think that's because there were these women, there was Ma Sita, there was Draupadi ji, there was Gandhari ji, Kunti ji, reminding the men and helping them to see sense of the situation, to remind them of what karma is. But there was also the shastras, the framework of dharma, to remind men such as Bhagwan Vidurji and Arjuna, all these men themselves to help see what is the dharmic thing to do. So because there were these empowered women and also this framework of dharma and how to live with dharma and how to protect dharma, I felt that the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, they corrected these adharmic situations very quickly, whereas in other societies that correction takes much, much longer, if it ever does happen. You know, you do see many societies where women genuinely are very oppressed still. So my question to you, Guruji, is, you know, what do you feel the other religions or the world generally can learn from Hinduism so that it can become a more peaceful place, so that wars are avoided in the first place, or that they are corrective much more quickly, so that people can carry on living a peaceful life within, you know, a few years or so? So what's your message to the world about what Hinduism can bring and to teach the world?
Very good. So this is most relevant question. All are seeking answers their own way. But first we understand in Sanskrit and Hindi, especially Sanskrit, meanings are hidden within those words only. As we progress, I usually keep repeating in my satsangs, words have no meaning except in a context. So when we progress spiritually, then we know what is the meaning of this word here, which I need to uphold. So journey, when we say Hindu Dharma, when we say Sanatan Dharma, and we want to say in the same breath other Dharma, religion also Dharma, then I have recently only written about it because I was seeing that there people are not saying that very openly. That I have asked 2-3 questions. I have recently written an article which organizer published. That is it fair to translate religion as dharma? Is it fair to translate soul or spirit as atma? So certain questions I am raising in what your consciousness, the journey has been when you say. So this people forget when they are discussing things in general intellectually, that they are talking entirely different things. Dharma is dharma, religion is some belief. Dharma, how to identify, you say how to differentiate dharma. Dharma says what you cannot experience, what is not in your experience, that cannot be your dharma. While in religions, which is called, we call them religions, there they say everything belongs to God. Again, word God is confusing. We hardly use this word here except for some context in Sanatan Parampara. Because we have, for every experience, we have a name. What is Ishwar, Paramatma? Everywhere we have something. So God is confusing in that sense. So when this happens, then we say in religion and this dharma, there is what you cannot experience. So in religions, they say everything belongs to God. While in Sanatana, we say everything is God. Sarvam khalu idam brahmam. Ishavashamidam sarvam et kinchu jagatyam jagat ten tenkten bhunjitha magrid kashvidhanam. That means all that is there is pervaded by divinity. So there is nothing which is beyond divinity, only amount and volume varies. So how it is saying, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. How to decide in which part, how much divinity is there. Very simple examples can be all the Indic traditions, Jain tradition, Buddha tradition, they have a different, like Jainism, we listen that every particle they have, say life, jiva is there, even in stone jiva is there. So that means what is it referring, that in a volume it is differentiating. So Krishna is telling his way that when you enter into me and you know me essentially, then you will know where in what volume I am there. That is the only difference. Divinity is in different volumes in every particle. Whichever that particle, that also is not there. So that thing is there. So dharma is that essence which you can experience in simple words, because if we keep talking about that, then we may go little, it will require so much time. So dharma is simply, this is the difference. You have nobody outside. You make somebody outside for the sake of it, but is everything is inside, it is you. To learn somebody you make, otherwise it is you. So dharma means what is your dharma that you are. So when we say here men and women, what is the difference for the men? No, if you see whole Ramayana and Mahabharata, one thing you will see common. Even person like Duryodhana, when he goes to Kunti, whose sons he is fighting against, he bows down to her. Same way Pandavas goes to Gandhari, and they are bowing down to her. And mind you, both the mothers are not saying to anyone that be victorious. So how much evenness in the mother's heart is? That shows the capacity of Indian women, that they are capable of maintaining evenness even at such a crucial point when the sons are at the warring front. Men, on the other hand, little bit difference. That is why I just keep saying, even today's tweet is also there about Mahagauri, which I tweeted, that there is little tilted, experience is little tilted towards femininity. If I say if two frames are there, male and female, then with so much caution, I need to hint that female frame is more suited for experiencing divinity. Male frame on the other part, because of little ego is more there. And practically I am saying, if spiritually we go, then there is no difference. Once you go beyond male and female and you start talking about feminine, and then you start talking about things which are in the higher realm. So when we are talking in this sense, because in world we need to put things in perspective, then male frame, we don't see any difference other than that little ego sense is more there, so that need to be sublimated. That is the difference. So what the man should keep it balanced, they should find somebody in their family, a female form. Maybe begin with their sister, mother, wife, whosoever is there. And if they start valuing them, because as I say that wife is the soul of husband, and also husband is the soul of wife, but there is a priority. So that sense, because of that, so if start valuing somebody in their family, that will make them balanced. Then their whatever that ego I am speaking of, false ego, that will come at its right place, and that the better sense will prevail. This is how I will submit. Okay.
Fantastic. And this made me think very much about Kanya Puja. And I read in a tweet very recently that, a man who does Kanya Puja to a young girl, he will never do any misdeed to her. There's such respect being shown in that one expression, that one practice. He will never do a misdeed to a girl. So just maybe touching a bit more then on that relationship, the way that men are towards women. So when I reflect on my own experiences, when I got married, I think many people in the West might assume that marrying into a Hindu family, that because they have the false perception that I would be oppressed in some way, I wouldn't have the same freedom, that sort of thing. When in fact, I found it's been the complete opposite. It's been very empowering. In many ways, because I am the Lakshmi of the household, I feel very powerful, in fact, actually. I feel that, I am the one responsible for the luck and the prosperity in not just my household, but in my in-laws' household. It's really clear to me that my happiness is the most important thing for my whole in-law family. It's not my husband's happiness, it's my happiness. So the view of men, but whole families of women, I find is so empowering within the Hindu tradition. As I mentioned before, in the other religions, that's just not the case at all. And I think it partly boils down as well to the fact that all of life is celebrated within Hinduism. So as you mentioned earlier, the strong have to protect the softness. And that whole spectrum of characteristic and qualities is celebrated because Hinduism isn't divisive in any way. It's very inclusive. It celebrates all of life. And it makes me reflect on within Mahabharata, where we see Arjuna being a eunuch for a year, and how that is still something that is viewed in a very positive way, whereas in other religions that would be very that episode might be frowned upon or be it just wouldn't feature. Let's just say it that way. So because in Hinduism everything is so inclusive, it is celebrating all of life, and it is allowing for people to live in certain ways. So when we look to France, what's recently happened in France, where the teacher was recently beheaded for expressing views that upset Muslims, we then look to a similar case in Bharat, where Kamlesh Tiwari, he was beheaded in a very similar way, because when they were trying to bring in an act to stop to decriminalize homosexuality, it really much angered the Muslims, and they were saying very horrible things about Hindus and about the devas. And when Kamlesh Tiwari, a Hindu MP, then sort of gave the same back, he got beheaded. And so we see this very clear distinction between the divisiveness of other religions and the inclusiveness of Hinduism. As long as a person is living in a dharmic life, then let them live as they are, let them live in peace. And so my question now comes down to how we protect dharma, because Hindus, we are in many ways the leaders, or we should be the leaders in helping the world to be a more peaceful place, a very inclusive place. And at times that does mean that we have to right wrongs. We have to try to stop adharma so that we can restore dharma. And so when we have the phrase of ahimsa paramo dharma, meaning that non-violence is the ultimate duty, I find that quite often Hindus, they think that's the full story, when in fact it's just half the story. The other half is, so too is violence in the service of dharma. Obviously beheading a person is extremely adharmic. And yet within Bharat, as I mentioned, when Kamlesh Tiwari ji, the MP, was beheaded, the media didn't take it up. And there was very little outrage that I could see. And it wasn't deemed as Islamic terrorism, whereas in France, with this recent beheading of the teacher, it has been called Islamic terrorism. So, and ultimately, obviously, violence in the service of dharma, that is the fundamental basis of Mahabharata and Ramayana, that it is necessary to correct situations to restore dharma. A kingdom where the leaders are very happy to disrobe women and treat them terribly, what sort of place would that become within a few generations if that were allowed to continue? You have to stop that and restore dharma. So my question to you, Guruji, is what are your thoughts on how Hindus can become more activated to understand their responsibility to protect Dharma, to restore Dharma, and to fight against adharma in all the different ways that are possible to fight the Dharma? It could be on social media, for example.
Thank you. See, we have been saying this since long, that everything in democracy because begins with education, right education. So when we say education, it has to be right education. And with education only you can come to know what dharma is. Otherwise, you get scanty information, half of it from you see from such a lens that you do not come to know. Only words come to you, but clarity doesn't come. Dharma is all about what you cannot uphold spontaneously. Your soul, your Atma says that this is what it is. And your heart is awakened. It says clearly, there is no confusion. So everybody needs to reach to that stage of transformation. Then it will be very clear. Even in Mahabharata, Duryodhana was very clear that what he is following. He was under no confusion. What path he is following was clear to him. He says I know what is dharma, I know what is adharma, but I am choosing what I am choosing. Then there is another thing. So you are clear, no confusion. Here, same thing, we say dharmo rakshati rakshita, as you mentioned about ahimsa also. But there the second line goes that dharma hinsa tathaiva. Ahimsa paramo dharma, but dharma hinsa tathaiva. So such things are there. So there is an order. First it is sanatana, which we call eternity. There are fields of realization. Here we say fields of realization means when you go up in your consciousness, your field changes. So in this life which we are living, 100% non-violence is impossible. Those who are seeing in that sense, they are not seeing clearly. So Krishna is telling very clearly, Sahaj dharma kaunte sadoshamapi na tyajet. Sarvarambhen hi doshen dhum agni iv abrita. This means every karma which you begin, some kind of blemish is there. So you should not leave your karma because it is showing that that blemish is there. That is there all the time. So that I am trying to make it clear that ahimsa, where to put and where to not. So yes, this has been our tradition that to all the times they are all Devi avatar, Deva avatar, whatever we say, they are always there to uphold dharma. So there will be some kind of cleaning all the time. But that has to be dharma based. So ahimsa comes second. Sanatana, then second step down you come, that then it is non-violence or ahimsa. Then you come further down, then it is truth. So many people are surprised that I place truth on the third pedestal, not on the first. Yes, then it is truth. Below that, then you have dharma. So truth, below truth is dharma. And it is very clearly written by our Saint Tulsidas, dharma na dusar satya samana, agam nigam purana bakhana. He says there is no other dharma than truth. So that means dharma's pedestal is one step down. Why? Because dharma is to uphold. And when you uphold, something or the other will happen. Because you are a living person and you are upholding and trying to fashion it correct way. And then the last step I say is prem, love. Below dharma is love. Human beings should not go below that. If they go below love, then they are no more human beings. They become animals. And some animal activists may say, look, am I putting animals down? No, don't take it that way. What I mean is they have lost the sense of values. They have lost the sense of consciousness proper. They have lost that all this whole creation, whole Srishti is one body. In that body only we are thinking I am this, you are that. There is no such thing for the realized one. So realized one, those who are upholding dharma, they do not see that this is religion, that is that they see all as one. And they try to tell for this time period, this is the dharma, this is the way of living. So when we put the education on the first place, and I say very clearly that what is most common among all of us living on this earth is that all of us are living life. Sometimes things so simple we miss. There is one common thing among all human beings, that all are living their life. So shouldn't our education's major portion should be devoted to how to live? So I say 50%, because anything you are talking, happiness should come in life, sukh should come in life, all you are talking about life, that how your life should be, then 50% of the education must go how to live. And it is Sanatana Dharma, it is India which knows is best in the world, because this has been here only that they explored the life unexplored. So they have seen both. That is what the Guru Parampara is. How the life here when we are incarnate as human being is there, and how the life beyond is. So they are capable of putting that balance between that and this. So if education, we call that Vidya is of three kinds: Paravidya, Vidya and Avidya. So if 50% is given to this, that how to live, then all these three will be covered in right sense. Otherwise, what is happening? Balance is disturbed. So only 25% should go for earning your living, and rest of the 25 should go earning knowledge. You are interested in biotechnology or something, how much research you contribute with? 25% of your time. So this proportion is missing. The way economy is being run these days, because the world economy is connected, our destiny is connected now in every sense. So this is making the spirituality in a way clear, that what has been told in spirituality, that all are connected. Now if you look at the what astrophysicists are finding out, what astronomers are finding out, what quantum physicists are finding out, what biologists are finding out, and what economists are finding out on a very base level, that economy is now connected. One country economy is disturbed, at this is felt, tremor is felt in other countries as well. So this proportion need to be kept in balance in all the three educations. So in that sense, when we progress, then we will be in a position to balance this, what the dharma and adharma is. We see whole world as one. So moving in that direction, that first give right education. There should be a debate and discussion, like certain things are there which are good for all, like yoga abhyas. Now after the yoga day, we are seeing this whole world, almost all the countries have accepted, barring few, those who could not comprehend it for different reasons. Somewhere political, somewhere let us not talk about it. That will also happen someday when better sense prevails. So something which is good for the body. So in that sense, when we start seeing that it is for all welfare, in that now you call it Hindu, we call it Sanatan Parampara, because all started, you know very well how the name Hindu came into being. That is an identity given geographically, that those who are living beyond Hindus, they are Hindus. So, okay, we accept, we say Indians, we say Bharatiya. So meaning changes. So when we say Bharatiya, Bharat means the one who is immersed in light. Bha plus Rat. The one who means Bhaskar means light. Rat means immersed. So the one country which is immersed in light. So you get that. So yes, when people are looking towards you, to the whole world, they say, no, this light has to come from India. Then you should own your responsibility, and you should play your role with responsibility. responsibility equally, because your responsibility is towards all. You cannot say, no, these people, because they are not born here or they are not born in this or that religion, they don't belong to us. Not in Sanatana. All are born, because there is only one. So then how can anybody else be there? They all are here. Someday everybody will realize that. When they see that there is no enemy. In this we say that Ajata Shatru. Like in Ramayana, Ravan is considering Ram as Shatru, but Ram is never considering him as an enemy. He is Ajat Shatru. He says, I have no enemy. So I have nobody else to be victorious over. So such things. So we can show that light as India. We should have that magnanimity, that these are the virtues. If whole humanity upholds it, what is real victory? That how as an evolved person you are, that you can accommodate whole creation within you at the spiritual level. Of course, if somebody says, how can you? I am not talking about physical, because as you said, given very many examples from Arjuna's life and everywhere, we are not seeing here. Sikhandi is equally Maharathi Sikhandi. We don't see them on gender basis. These are non-issues for us. Somebody is finding themselves and looking at their body not as celebration but as cage, then they are misfortune. Every frame is sanctified. Because this is just a means. You have much more potential and capability to see and explore your existence. We say, Joi Joi Pinde Soi Brahmande. What is there in your own microcosm, that is there in the microcosm. It is the same only. If you are capable of transcending the boundaries, then there is no I and you. There is only one. So when such is the teaching from India, so this message should be very clear, lived through our life. And that is where all this intellectual, you see, kind of this is going on, rasakasi, which we call wrestling kind of thing, tug of war among intellectuals, how to come to the real words. Here we are saying words are helping you to certain extent, but beyond that, it is realization. So India can show to the world that path of realization. That is our real power. And with that, whole world will flourish. Because we say prosperity means if I am, and when we have to respond to the other countries, we should respond. Such incidents are happening across. They should show best examples, because there is no dearth in India where tolerance, rightly living, so much sacrifice. We have, if you see our fathom our history, you will see how magnanimous we have been. So all the time accommodated, we do not go in a revenge way. When some events are happening across the world where religious hatred and all thing is coming, we should put the things in right perspective and tell them that this is confusion. Please first bring clarity, then purity will come. And then you will be going in a correctness way. So this is the message India can tell to the world, or this is how they should respond with their immense literature. You have your own language. You should have your own literature. There is no dearth. This is the richest literature in the world, Sanskrit literature, where every example which can be lived on earth by human beings is already there. So you can show that to the whole world that there is such a situation, you should have behaved like this. I am not speaking about current examples deliberately, because it is not my role to somebody should feel denigrated, because all are my part, all are residing in me. So they should feel that, okay, where is my way in it? Not that, no, you are not right. Because if all are in me, when we are saying that way, then how can somebody be right and wrong? But definitely the way they can correct. It is like mirroring. We show somebody mirror, if there is extra something, they will remove it. There is some something is lacking, then they will put it this correct way. So Guru's role is in our tradition to show the mirror 10 times. Every time you should be ready, but don't say anything. Please see and correct yourself. So that way of India's would be put them correct example for Ramayana and Mahabharata from current life, from current leaders. Look how we are responding to it. So our response should be magnanimous, clear, and terse. It is not that dharma is always in that sense. It is the path of courageous ones. Spirituality and dharma, timid hearted can't follow dharma. Dharma and spiritualities are for the line headed, for the ones who have the this heart of a lion. They only can go for dharma and spirituality, because that is what whole Gita is saying. It begins with that only. If you know everything in that sense, that's no fight is there for dharma and adharma, and you have to follow the dharma so that others, because the way excellent persons of their time, like currently what leaders are in every field, in politics, in economics, in any field of knowledge, how they are behaving. Behavior is more important. How they are. That's why I am saying 50% of the education, how to live. So because that is important. You may be a treasure of knowledge, but you come across not like that, then it is of no use. So that way, our role as India's role is to put that through their behavior very clearly, that this is how the behavior should be. And then then the world will follow it, because everybody is looking for truth. We should not doubt anyone. We should not create dual identities. Everybody should be in our identity, and we should make that from our heart. So realization through spiritual realization, following clearly in behavior, that will be taken care of. That is our role in the world.
Dhanyavad. Very good, Guruji. Thank you. So just following on again from that, to how does an individual see clarity in their day-to-day decisions about what is dharmic or not? As we know, Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, it empowers you to know, to explore, to investigate what is the dharmic decision, the dharmic way to live your life. It's not like the other religions where you have these black and white commandments that are devoid of any context and that maybe aren't relevant to modern times. In Sanatana Dharma, it's always eternal and it's universal. And as I said, it empowers you to apply the dharmic framework to your contemporary challenges, issues, these things. And ultimately, life is full of grey situations. It's not always very clear what is the right thing to do. And in the past, Hindus, they would engage in these grand debates where we see, for example, in the Ramayana, where there is this grand debate with the kings and very esteemed rishis just on the topic of should Bhagwan Ram go into exile or not. So imagine an individual person like me on a day-to-day basis. Okay, my decisions have nothing to do, are not as grand as going into exile for 13 years, but you know, they're important decisions to me on how I am leading my day-to-day life. And another example, then looking at the Mahabharata, where you see Arjuna in this real dilemma before he engages in the battlefield of, oh my goodness, I am going to have to shoot at my own family members. And he becomes very anxious about this. But fortunately for him, he has Bhagwan sitting right in front of him and can put him on the right path. So for people like myself, the average person on a day-to-day basis, what should we try and do to seek guidance in knowing what is the right decision to make? So for me personally, my Ishtadev is Hanumanji. So when I do puja in my mandir each day in front of my Hanumanji Murti, I try and ask for his guidance. But is that the right thing to be doing? What's your opinion?
Oh, thank you for the question, because this question needs to be asked. Why? See, there are three things. First is you. There is nobody else other than you. First priority in this whole existence is you yourself. Because everything which you have to do, you are the vessel through which you are seeking, asking, doing, whatever. So that is the base of your being. As you find yourself here and now. So who should be the decision maker? What is right and wrong? It should be you. Now, what is the role of other? When I say three things, second thing is guru, and third thing is parampara. We call it literature or something. This all murti puja and everything comes into that. So three things: you, living guru, and everything else. So these are the three ways, and all three purposes make you the vessel, so that it is, because it is never possible in real terms to tell you what to do, because Krishna himself is telling. That's why we can see this is the utility of Shastra. If I want to make you understand something, so instead of saying directly, I give you examples from Ramayana or Mahabharata, but I say this is here and now. It is not that you go and start talking about them. Their role is that this has been there from eons, and this is Sanatan Dharma's beauty, that it is in this moment and it is eternal. Is every moment new and it is eternal. What is relevant all the time. What is dharma all time. Only technology and things are changing. Our frames are changing, forms are changing. So in one single sentence, who to ask what is right and wrong, what is dharma, you should become your intelligence. We here in Sahaj Smriti Yog, we say that there are three stages. One is intellect. Next you move, it is intelligence. And third is wisdom. So when you cross to become wisdom, so it is like compass. You anywhere you put, it will tell you north and south. So when you have become yourself like that, that is what is worth doing in this movement. So a role of the guru is that in his light, Guru's light, whom we are saying, we see ourselves clearly, that this is our transformation from intellect to intelligence to wisdom. Then when we become what we have come here for, so there nobody needs to tell you in that sense. You become. So I say first is your own heart. When your heart is rearing, then only you will go in search of Guru, living Guru. So when Krishna is referring to mum, only few could decipher it, that what he is really referring to there. He is referring to there, according to some, to living Guru, not to the Gita or his word. That somebody, otherwise it becomes Shastra, it becomes book. Then what is the difference? Others are also following books. So there needs to be a living person. Because if we have to ask something, suppose we go to some place and our own mind start talking to us and we say, no, this answer is coming there. So who is the decision maker? Who are we listening to? But if living person is there, then we have a way. I am understanding this 10 times we can ask. Is it the way it should be seen? Then he says, okay, not this way, you see this, go, experiment, see. And then the result is there. So then your trust increases. So it is here in Sanatana, nothing is based on belief. Everything is based on trust. Trust means this. What is the difference between belief and trust? So trust is that I tell you something, that you move 10 steps and on the 11th step, there will be a house. So you are trusting me for 10 steps. And every step also you are getting something. So you reach there and then you find that yes, this house is there. Now your trust is increased. There now you are moving better. So your clarity is also increasing. You become more subtle and you see more clearly. So in this tradition, this is the way we move. So who? Yes, ultimately it is you. But till then such stage has not arrived. Then we are always listening to a guru, because there is somebody to take responsibility. But there also, the meaning we are only seeing according to our understanding. Because as I say, words mean so many things. One says one thing, another understand another. So slowly, because there is a living person, you say, do you mean this? Then you say, he will indicate something, and then you go further. So first decision maker is your own heart. Anything which is not going according to your heart, I am saying this with responsibility. Even if your guru is saying you are not supposed to follow, even your Ishtadev is saying you are not supposed to follow, you are supposed to follow what your heart is saying. Because Ishtadev or Guru, it is in your heart. Ishwar Sarvbhutanam Hridadeshe Arjun Tishtati. Why I am saying this? That he's saying that God is sitting in your heart. Divinity is sitting in your heart. So you have to, ultimately you are listening one or God is listening to another. So when I am saying if your heart is not ready, that means what you are listening, your heart is not listening, something else is listening, your mind is listening or something else is listening. So don't go by that, because you will not be going by the word of the Guru, you might be going by the word of your mind. But if your heart is listening, that's why I place so much importance. I say that how you should listen. That is very important. Shushrusha, Sravanam, Grahanam, Dharanam, Tatha, Uhapoh, Arth Vigyanam, Tattva Gyanam, Dhi Lakshana. Dhi, their word Dhi has come. That if your intellect has to transform into Dhi, that is intelligence, then you should be very keen to listen. Who? You means your heart. Then you should be in a position to keenness to listen, then readiness to listen, then upholding that, conceiving it, then upholding it. It is like childbirth kind of a thing when it's happening. So upholding it, then uhapoe, what is right, what is wrong. That we say no, pro and cons. That is, there comes the practical life of the same knowledge which you have realized on a very higher level, putting into the practical something happens. So that is their reasoning is happening there. Then only you get tattva jnanam, essential knowledge. And that is where the Krishna to the same thing. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas-chasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantram. So until you get tattvata, essentially, so we say tattvamasi. Say everything is related here very clearly. Tattvamasi means thou art that. So is your God in conversation with the higher volume God, that is your Guru? So then both gods are talking, there is no possibility of failure. That is why I say that if your heart is not ready, that means you are listening from somewhere else. So you should not listen. Somebody else is listening, then how that will go wrong. But if you're listening from heart and then you follow, then right and wrong, everything will be so crystally clear to you. That is Sanatana wisdom. That is what we are saying. That clarity, purity, and correctness, they keep moving in circles. One is giving birth to another, one is helping another. More the clarity you have, more purity will usher in. More purity you have, more correctness in your behavior will come. So this is the way to find, not by any other thing like that. Those are helping. See, in the beginning, we go for some murti, we do puja. There also we are saying the same thing, no, that God is there in that murti. We call murti. Murti means the one who is live. See, that's where the whole problem of translation of the language comes. English, we say statue. It is not a statue at all. It's murti. Murti means the one who was amurt, means invisible, have become visible now. Amurt and murt, that word comes from there. So murti means we are considering that living. What people are doing that, so some kind of training happens. They go to the God and close their eyes. They should open if they are considering that to living one. To see darshan, have darshan, but mostly you have seen that they are closing their eyes and listening. So they are something they are placing. But if the Guru is not there, maybe they are listening their own mind. At least something is happening. At least they became so much courageous that they put themselves out. But there are certain pitfalls. So that is how it should be seen. All these are means. But real is this. With a living guru, because you are a living person. So with the living guru, this happens. But even at that, your heart is the first thing. That is how. Until we reach to that clarity, that we come to know that we are residing in our guru in that essential form, then you are home free. But till then, that has not come. You go through Shastra, you ask your question, then you do whatever, if that is your path, go through the East. Then finally, because it is you, Tattvam Ashi, thou are that. So you have to reach to that realization. If this is true, it must come into your experience. Yes, yes, really it is so. It is like that only. So that is the difference, that we must go through that experience and then we are moving in that direction. So this is your journey from intellect to intelligence to wisdom, or I say in different words, to understanding, to experiencing, to feeling. So all the three, because Trigunatmaka Srishti we say, all the three gunas. So everything, so long as you are an incarnate being in the human frame, you cannot go beyond this outside. Inside you can go in your heart. That is, you can be all pervasive, that is it. So this is the way to move, to know what is right and what is wrong, how to move towards right.
Thank you, Guruji. Fantastic. I mean, do we have time for one more question, or are we inviting questions from the audience now? Otherwise, I can ask one more.
One more.
One
That's
more
all.
from me.
One more.
Okay, lovely. So you were mentioning about truth being, in fact, a level higher than karma. So in this Kali Yuga that we're in, I've heard that speaking the truth is actually the most difficult thing. And when you look at the media, it becomes very apparent that the truth is rarely said. So when we are trying to listen to ourselves to understand what is the dharmic thing to do, it's difficult, I find, for some people particularly, who are very drawn in to what the media are telling them. And so there are many examples that you can give about the sort of the bias and the lies being told in the media. So take the case of the sadhus who were killed in Pulgar, who were described as thieves from a neighboring tribe. And they didn't mention the involvement of the communists and opposition parties in that whole attack. If somebody doesn't have the critical view of the media, they can get sucked into these lies and then not find it challenging to understand what is the dharmic thing to do. Other examples with Tanishq recently, with the jewelry adverts, encouraging a way of life that is actually encouraging in many ways love jihad, or the Eros Now adverts where they were sexualizing Navratri this week, really terrible things. Again, people get sucked into these narratives, these ideologies, and they get to see the world differently. So my final question to you, Guruji, is how do Hindus remain sort of impervious or resilient to all of this bombardment of falsehoods from the media and other places, the education system, perhaps even where the wrong history is being told about the history of Bharat? What can Hindus do to see the truth in situations?
So when we are living life, we say everything is truth. It begins from truth on the surface level. Truth is the common denominator, where your truth and the person whom you are talking to, his truth or her truth may be different, but it will still be known as truth. X truth, Y's truth, both may be different, but one may be much voluminous, another may be less voluminous, but it is still truth. So truth is in every field. To establish truth, people need to be courageous. So here, what if what Indians should do, what Hindus should do, what Sanatan Dharmis should do. These are also the question, but the broader question is, as a society of world citizens, how should we behave? So to go on correct line, first as Indians, they should know their own history. And what is history? I keep saying it is Ramayana and Mahabharata. What is the difference? Because their eternal truth, as it manifests in human experience, that has been given priority. Events are there, but events are there just to show that this truth through human heart fructifies in every age like this situation. At that time, maybe they had swords and all such things. Maybe these days they have nuclear weapons, but the human is same. Human experience is same. So that in that sense, what needs to be done? That they should have sense of their history. It's, now there is so much confusion the way they have tried to create. As you said, a very important word you have spoken, that is a narrative. So narrative, when we are saying the true history of human heart, true history of this country, this nation, this civilization, this culture, how we lived. That is how it is. So from there we source our truths. And then we apply it, and then we find it is applicable and fruitful even today. It's as if nothing has maligned it. It is equally sparkling. All those incidents, what happened in Ramayana and Mahabharata, you put in your house, you put in your workplace, anywhere you will find some light. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to behave. So context may have changed your living, but the thing remains same. So first of all, they should have self-confidence and clarity about their own history. They should not term it mythology. Now researches are showing that the new generation of historians, those who are coming, through astronomy, they are trying to tell it clearly at what time Mahabharata war happened, at what time Ramayana happened. Now these are such evidences that none can deny. They are open to everyone. We are not saying this book or that book. So we have been making a continuous mistake as intellectuals, that we didn't rely on our vast literature. Yes, literature operates on 2-3 levels. Somewhere they are talking about the time, somewhere they are talking small truth, somewhere they are talking universal truth. That wisdom you should have, what this word means here. So if you are not capable of deciphering it, this reminds me of an example when this English gentleman translated Gaia, the cow word we refer to as a cow. While Gaia, there it was referred as earth, because we call Mother Earth also Gaia, the cow. Somebody was writing in Sanskrit literature that how far the sun is from the earth. So he says 1,000 Gaia. So he says, oh, how fool these people are. It put one cow over another 1,000 cow and then we reach to the sun. So if you are incapable of deciphering, then you do not project it onto the knowledge. So they say, when a saint says, Nij Agyan Ram Parana. So they say ki your own eyes are not clear. Mukur Malin Aru Nayan Bihina Ram Roop Dekhai Kim Dina. They says your mirror is not undusted, it is full of dust. And your eyes are not clear. You do not have eyes to see. And you see, I do not see. So first you make yourself worthy of seeing, correct your mirror, then you will see everything. So same sense we are saying here, that yes. So that way if we move, that our clarity about things is there, and then everything will fall in line. So we have this to give to the world, that clarity, that this is how today as human beings we should move. And if it comes, that clarity comes from your own knowing your own parampara. And today, most important thing I keep emphasizing is education. If you do not educate them right way, see, education, so it is not that India has now any less education. Yes, it's still there. But the way they have been educated is not correct. So the education, they should know their real history. They should know, then only their confidence and their clarity will be there. So if that way we move, then it will be very clear to them that what is our next step. That is how I will put it. They should know their own history. They should be, then only they will know the glory of it. Then with confidence, they will be in a position to say, no, this is how we should go. This is how we should go. So this is one big hurdle which all of us sit together and solve it so that the right knowledge comes to everyone and then we move ahead. This is how I put it.
Thank you very much, Guruji. I completely agree. Understanding the history is so key. The education system does need reform. And so I wish to say thank you very much for answering my questions. You've answered them beautifully. I've learned so much. And I think at this point, we'll be opening out questions to the audience. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, we will be starting with the audience questions now. So the first question we have is from Anindya ji, which is to Guruji. Why do we say karma hi dharma hai?
Because what you uphold, that alone is you can qualify it as dharma. So you are capable of choosing only karma, because even if you do not choose, then you will be forced to do something or the other. So if nobody who is in human frame can stay without doing karma. It is impossible. So how or what you choose, that becomes your dharma. So what, there is only one agency, that is you, who does things, who chooses. Otherwise, by compulsions, if you do not show the courage to choose, then situations will keep you moving according to the way they unfold. So nobody can say that they can sit idle and not do anything. It is impossible, because the way your constitution is, means your constitution, I am referring to your mind, body, self and soul. So the way you are constituted as an entity, one with the whole universe, what you uphold, you do as a karma, that is only your dharma. So that is very clearly said. Swadharma. Through Swadharma only, Swe Swe Dharma Nirata. Siddhim Lavte Nara. When you are stationed in your dharma, then you get siddhi, means safalta, success. So karma and dharma, as I keep saying, that in that sense they are. So dharma is not anything different. What you uphold, you become that. So what you uphold is your karma you do. So that is why dharma and karma, they are one and the same only. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. The next question is from Girish ji for Dr. Melissa. From what Guruji said, I understand that dharma is experiential, whereas the other two major religions are dictated. Your views, please.
Yes, thank you. An excellent question indeed, G. So I can speak mostly about Christianity, obviously, as that is my background, and can say very strongly that because there are these 10 commandments and they are very black and white, it can lead to a lot of confusion. And I think that is one of the reasons why, certainly in the West, Christianity is falling out of favor so quickly, because people are seeing the sort of nonsensical nature of not just the commandments, but other aspects of the religion as well. And so when I look to some of my school friends who are very strongly Christian, they are on a daily basis, I can see, battling with these conflicts within themselves between what they are what they are reading in the Bible and how they are applying it to their lives. They're seeing that they have friends and family members who are not identifying as Christians, but are doing very good work for social causes, for looking after animals, and they have to believe that that person is damned. They are going to hell. It's very black and white, and they are living with this conflict of seeing this person living a very good life and then thinking, well, they're going to be damned despite the fact they're doing all this good work, just because they view life and Bhagwan or God in a different way to the way that they do, in a very sort of confined, limited way. And it's also worth mentioning that, as I said earlier, the relevance of these commandments, they're not, many of them are not relevant to the modern world. They're not evolving. Whereas within Hinduism, because it is a much more holistic framework of, dharma is the guiding light for you, that the way that is guiding the way you live your life. It is eternal. It is universal. You can always apply it to whatever situation you're in, whether it was 10,000 years ago, whether it's today, or whether it is in 10,000 years' time. And so for me, it's so obvious that that is such a more sustainable framework to be living by. It's such a more accurate framework to be living by. And then, as I said, when I look to my Christian friends, I can see that they are battling these tensions within their life on a daily basis. And as I said earlier, I think it's a major reason why in the UK, I don't know the number exactly, but it's a tiny percentage, something like 2 or 3% of the population go to church on a regular basis now. It really is falling off the cliff. And that's particularly, those people are in the elderly generations. So in future generations, that number, it really is going to disappear. And obviously brings up the bigger issue of, that's why they're trying then to push it into other countries such as India. And I really hope that doesn't happen, because as I've just said, the Hindu philosophy, it's the truth, ultimately. It makes so much more sense. It is the solution to a sustainable existence, to a sustainable world. So yes, absolutely, I agree with your question. They are ultimately quite dictatorial and just not relevant. And hopefully Hinduism will survive for or survive indefinitely, and they won't.
Thank you so much, Dr. Melissa. The next question is for Guruji. It's from Srinivas. Why Lord Rama asked Sita to go through Agni Pariksha? Did this really happen? I personally feel this is an injustice to Sita.
See, this is such a question that before you know that who are Ram and who are Sita, then you will not, this question will not come in your heart. So we are seeing them because we are seeing them as ultimate incarnation in human frame, of divinity's ultimate incarnation in human frame. That means you have to go to the story well, because if you are taking a part from the story, that is what the mistakes happen. Sita for the fire test, simple answer. If you are telling from the story says that when they were staying, Ram, Sita and Lakshman, in the jungle, that time in their privacy, Ram spoke to only Sita. Even Lakshman was not there. He said, first you say, Tum pavak maha karahu nivasha, jav lagi karahu nisachar nasa. For as much period of time that I finish off these demons, you stay in fire. So there, when the fire test is happening, it is not fire test if you are going, because you know you are speaking only from story. So I have to answer you from the story. Reality is realizable and experienceable, and you can know your own answer when we reach to the higher stages of realization. But you are speaking from a context. So that context, I am saying that you see from where the thread begins. Thread begins from here, that it is like their somebody you have kept in somebody's custody or house. So he has kept the Sita in the custody of fire. When the job is done, demons are over, then he is putting the frame back and taking the real Sita out. That is the version of what is there in the Ramayana. So there was no such fire test. That they are, because they are divine, we are considering them, that means all these panch tattvas are staying in them. As I said in the beginning sloka, Avijanati mam muda manushi tanamashritam param bhavam ajananto aham bhuta maheshwaram. That those are in the form of ignorance or idiocy, who consider that I am dependent on the body, that I am this body. So Sita and Ram are not that body. So for them, if you are seeing them as divinity, in that sense, it makes no sense. So they need no fire test, nothing like that. And if you see from the story, then this is what they are telling. That she was kept, the higher god Agni Deva has taken her into his custody, and when the job is done, he is offering it back. So this is the story. That's how. So when we see the complete, when we see half end, then there is the problem. If you are seeing one end, you should look for the another end also. It is not that 50% I will accept and 50% I will not accept. If you are accepting anything, then ultimately you find that all the threads are so well connected. But half truth is very dangerous things. So whole truths, when we are moving, then it is realized, then you will know. Otherwise, from the story, you at least connect both the threads, then the loop will be complete. So this is the story behind that. It goes much longer, but for this time, this is it.
Thank you, Guruji. The next question is from Vikas, and he has requested for both Guruji and Dr. Melissa's opinion on this. What is your opinion about intercaste marriage? Two Hindu of different caste getting married? Do you think somewhere it is related to society empowerment as a whole? Or is it against dharma, as it is not easily acceptable in our society?
Yes, Melissa.
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, lovely. So thank you very much for that question, Vikasji. So I think I'll start by saying that becoming a Hindu, I have come to respect so many more professions to a greater extent than I did before. Growing up, I was very much of the opinion that you had to go into science and technology and become a researcher to be a sort of a progressive person, and didn't really value people who were wanting to go into maybe history or into an art subject or become a dancer, or to go into a profession perhaps where they are, building houses or, very useful things. But truth be told, at that point, I didn't really respect them as much as somebody who's going into research. It's only since becoming a Hindu, I've really come to appreciate how you need all of these professions. The importance of artists and dancers and historians to the protection of a culture such as the Bharatiya culture, and the focus within Bharat of careers in engineering and becoming a doctor alone or going to the civil service. It has come at a grave cost to understanding the true history of India, of Bharatiya civilization. So that's just a sort of prelude to make us all understand that I now fully appreciate the need for all types of professions now. And when I look at my own family, my dad, he's a plumber. My mum is a teacher. I have a sister who is very happily a housewife, has no career ambitions. Another sister who is a researcher. Everyone has gone into such different paths in life, and that's because it's their natural inclination. And in many ways, that is what the Varna system is, where the word caste is believed, some people say it has come from the Varna system, when in fact that's just not true at all. Caste, it comes from the Portuguese word casta, and is completely separate really from the Varna system, where the Varna system is a way for helping people to understand or to place them within a society based on their behaviors, based on their inclinations, based on their skills. So if somebody is born into a family of Brahmins, but they don't act or behave like a Brahmin, then they're not a Brahmin. Whereas if somebody is born into a family of Shudras, but they have an inclination for learning and for teaching, and they live like a Brahmin, then they are a Brahmin. And there are so many examples from India's history where you see, for example, the daughter of a farmer, Ahilyabai Holkarji in Maharashtra state in the 1700s, I think it was, born into a family of farmers. But because she had such courage, such strength, and such skill, when the king of Indore came passing by, he wanted her as his daughter-in-law. So automatically now she's in royalty. And that was because of her characteristics, her natural inclinations. And just to finish off, there's such a misunderstanding about the word caste, as I just explained. And in many ways, it's so frustrating because when you look at the history in Europe, certainly within the UK, you know, when you see a person's surname being Taylor or Smith, that's because in the West, there was this system where you had to go into your parents' profession. You didn't have an option to become an artist. There wasn't the opportunity. You weren't encouraged to do that. You were to become the next tailor. You were to become the next blacksmith. So in many ways, that's where the true caste system lies. And when you look at the Mahabharata, there are so many examples where the true essence of what Varna means is explained, where you have a hunter explaining to a Brahmin, or you have Bhagavan Krishna explaining what the Varna system is. And it is that your Varna is determined by your actions, your karma. So then just tying that over to the question about marriages between different castes, I'm just going to reflect on my own two parents who, you know, are obviously from the UK, European heritage. So there wasn't a caste to sort of associate with them, but they come from very different backgrounds. And in the Western framework, we have classes, not castes. So we have, you know, the lower class, the working class, the middle class, the teachers, that sort of thing, and the upper middle class, perhaps the doctors, the lawyers, and then the upper class, then the very wealthy. And my parents come from quite different classes, and actually, to be honest, their marriage was always very difficult because they didn't have anything in common. They had very different value systems. They had very different expectations out of life. So in many ways, I feel the Varna system is useful in that it helps to understand people. And when it comes to marriage, perhaps, you know, a marriage within a Varna system can help because there is more in common between the two individuals. But as I said, that's not to say that one of those people cannot change into a different Varna, because if they do change their behaviors and then start acting as a different Varna, then actually they have changed Varna. So yes, over to you, Guruji. That was my contribution to that question.
No, very well. You have explained it very clearly. Only one sentence, if I may only add it, that marriage is between two individuals. And here in Bharatiya Parampara, that choice has been given a priority to the female. That she is more empowered, whomsoever she wants to choose. That is called Swayamvara. That Swayam means herself, Vara means chosen. The one she herself chose. So that's it. Rest all you have said very well.
Thank you so much. Keeping in mind with the time constraint, we will be concluding the question answer session. Audience, feel welcome to post your questions, comments, and feedback via Facebook chat. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Melissa ji, for this enlightening Upanishad. Thank you, audience, for your gracious participation. Happy Dashera, and see you in our next Upanishad. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa ji. Thank you,
Thank
audience.
you, Guruji. Thank you, Darpan
Shiv.
Foundation.
Hari Om Tashat.